Hello, I am Lana, the educator. If you're a first-time listener on this channel, welcome. My channel is your go-to destination for all things educational. Thank you for tuning in. Join me as I explore the latest educational trends, tackle pressing issues facing the education sector, conduct insightful interviews with people making a difference, like today's guest, and share stories of triumph and innovation from around the globe. Joining us today is someone whose heart beats to the rhythm of Parang. Mr. Jason Ganpat's journey began with the vibrant art form at St. Mary's College, where Saturday night radio sparked a lifelong passion. That love soon evolved into leadership, as Jason is the founding member or one of the founding members and a current manager of Los Buenos Parranderos, where he also plays percussion and ensures linguistic authenticity as a meticulous Spanish speaker. From the year 2005 to 2017, Jason served as youth officer for the National Parang Association of Trinidad and Tobago, dedicating himself to nurturing young talent through the annual Junior Parang Festival. His commitment to excellence and cultural preservation is unwavering. Whether mentoring youth or championing the Spanish roots of Parang, Jason remains a driving force behind its evolution and its endurance.
So we want to welcome on stage now, Los Buenos Parranderos. Put your hands together. Levanta, señor, levanta, 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 señor, levanta.
Please welcome the passionate, the purposeful, and the percussion-powered Jason Ganpat. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very, very much for that warm welcome.
That's what you did. That's what you do.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So it's all about Parang, where we're gearing up. I think from the beginning when I spoke to you, I didn't even know that Parang groups had already started. I know you might have been rehearsing, but you had already started going to events and so forth. So take us back a little bit to what inspired you and your group to start a Parang band.
Well, actually, as you mentioned, as I was a Form 2 student of St. Mary's College at the time, studying at that time 3 languages, French, Latin, and Spanish. And Form 2, yes, and there was this Saturday night program on Radio 610, right, with Mr. Leo De Leon from way back when. And my mother, who has strong Cocopayol roots, because she's from the center of the country, Flanagan Town, and she said that, you need to sit down on a Saturday night and listen to the Parang, and it will help you with your learning your Spanish, right? And so dutifully sat down, listened to it. She would tune in every Saturday night because it was there on the radio, and listening to it, and at that time it was becoming popular. The band that was beginning to make waves on the Parang scene, the local Parang scene, was the San Jose Serenaders out of St. Joseph. Yeah, and we knew a lot of them because that's the parish that we worshipped at.
Okay.
And many of them were in the choir, the church choir, and so on, and that's staying in the community in St. Joseph and so on. So we knew a lot of them. So there was this early attachment to the band, and then of course, by extension, listening to their music because they brought a new style of music into the Parang, So that kind of fostered my enjoyment for the Parang. The second thing is it didn't help my Spanish.
It didn't?
No, it didn't. My Spanish, it developed along the way in school and so on, right? Through my teachers at college and even furthermore at UE and so on,
Right.
And so I think my mother was a little disappointed with that. But and it's from there, right? And then, well, of course, studies came in between. And it was only in 1977, finishing an undergraduate degree at UE. And then my wife to be, well, at that time she wasn't. We were in class together. We studied both languages, French and Spanish. We were there for the 3 years and so on, you know.
Right.
Right. And we got together and things started happening with us. Right. Then we entered the workforce, you know, because at that time, in the late 70s, early 80s, the government, they were putting down lots of the new secondary schools, the junior secondary and the senior secondary schools. And the schools needed to be staffed. So we were just thrown into the schools, right? You know, to staff them and so on with you. And that's where we began to teaching of the Spanish language, because that was the only language taught at those schools, you know. And it was while she, 1978, yeah, she was placed at Belmont, well, they call it junior secondary at the time. And the music teacher there, well, we would use the Spanish language, the songs, the parent songs and so on, in the classroom, you know, to help them learn different aspects of the language, you know. And she said the music teacher was passing by one day and he heard the parent in the classroom, you know, and he stopped and he listened. And the next thing you know, he said to her, listen, I belong to the church choir, the Anglican church choir in Tunapuna, the Good Shepherd Anglican Church.
Right.
And during the Christmas season, you know, the choir, we always go about caroling in the Tunapuna area and so on. And would you be willing to come and help us teach us at least 2 songs for us to go about caroling and so on? So she agreed. So both of us, we went along.
Okay.
So simple song.
How did the name come about? Because I mean, every parent group that you go, you know, they'll say introducing Los Tes and Los whatever it is. How did your name come about?
Yeah. And then, well, the idea came up that maybe we should form a group, you know, a parent band. And the name Los Buenos came from the Good Shepherd, right? Okay. But the church was the Good Shepherd Anglican Church in Tunapuna.
Right.
So we took the good out of the Good Shepherd.
Right.
And added the narrow state, so that the band was founded in 1979.
Okay.
Okay, so this season is 46 years old, right?
Wow.
You know? Yeah. And then enjoyed a lot of in the early years, you know, from 1980 to I would say close to 1990s and so on. The band was a regular feature on Trinidad and Tobago television, their Christmas programs with Holly Bitudier, Denali, Alison Hennessy.
Right.
You know, when they had their programs and so on during the day or afternoons and wanted a little entertainment. And we were there. We were pretty much like the in-house band for TTT, you know. And then, of course, it extended when Holly Bitudier started his bandwagon, the Parang bandwagon all through the country. We were among the first bands to be associated with them, and we probably had a relationship lasting more than 30 years on the Parang bandwagon, you know. So that brought a lot of experience to the members of the band.
Okay.
Then of course, too, as time went by, members left, you know, folks migrated, things happened, and the initial group of members, well, they left, then others came in, you know, spent a while. And of course, so it continued to evolve. You know, some members even started their own band. Okay. Right? Presently, there are 15 of us. 10 of them are past students of ours at St. George's College, Barca. 10 of them. And the last 12 years or so, we both ended up at St. George's College. Okay. We both ended up there.
How would you describe the band's musical style? How has it evolved over the years?
Okay, well, in the beginning, when we first started, the leader of the band at the time, the music teacher, he pretty much played the quattro.
Right.
Okay. And then he had friends maybe from the church, or he knew folks who would come in and play the guitar, right? The 2 main instruments. And others would play like, you know, the tambourine, the maracas, the shak-shak, somebody who had that talent, and the box bass, you know. So it was pretty much like that. And then as we went along and other members came in, they came in with other instruments were added, like the mandolin, you know, maybe another 2 more quattros and so on, you know, and then of course voices here. it evolved like that. And it continued like that. So even up to today now, the 10 young people in the band, they have graduated from the music program at St. George's College. It was a very strong, vibrant music program. Because at St. George's College at the time, music played an important part. Music was present, or musical items and song was present at every major function throughout the academic year, the calendar year. Beginning like from this term, first term, we will have, for example, they will be preparing for the San Fernando Festival of Arts, Sanfest. Then of course, coming to the end of the term, it's a Christmas season. Right. So for Sanfest, you would have had the folk choir and the parang choir. Right. Alongside, and members would be belonging to both. Then Christmas itself, then you got into the second term where the focus is on carnival, right? So the music department, they had them there preparing the calypso, the carnival, for the carnival program. In the third term, you're heading into Easter, right? Easter would be, there would be some music in Easter, right? Based on the whole Easter story and that kind of thing.
So what I'm understanding is, even though you're a parang band, you're not necessarily pigeonholed into only doing the parang genre of music. Do you experiment with other genres like soca or chutney or anything like that? How does it go?
No. We are strictly parang.
Okay.
I mean, we do add like some of the popular calypsos or soca, if you like, as part of the repertoire. But, going back to school days, it was music itself.
Okay.
Was present on it, and it was there on the calendar of events. And the group of them that are here with us now, they were pretty much around the same years in school, just a few years difference. So they are in the mid to late 20s.
Right.
Young professionals and so on. And they love music, right? They're very talented. A lot of them are involved in their music ministries in their church. So they are in music all year round. One boy is a member of the National Philharmonic Orchestra. Yeah. One young lady, she was called up, I guess. You go out in public to play and so on, and folks notice you, promoters and so on. And she was invited to be part of the chorus for the recent C.C. Winans concert. Okay. Right, yeah. And at the moment, she's also rehearsing with, what's his name, John Thomas, for his Christmas presentation, Believe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Good.
Yeah, good. So they're getting that kind of exposure and sharing their talent and so on.
You mentioned, obviously, even if you don't know, parang music, it's Christmas time. Once you hear parang, it's Christmas time in Trinidad and elsewhere. So how do you see the relationship between parang and the community, especially during the Christmas season? What's the relationship you see coming out there?
Yeah, it's a very close relationship. I mean, parang is in high demand.
Right.
Yeah, but while it is pretty much, a lot of us would say it is pigeonholed into the Christmas season, October to December, early January, bands now, even like us.
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of the season, say early January, we put down the instruments and so on, and folks, because these same young people, they are involved in maybe some carnival activities.
Yeah, right?
So carnival is finished, and pretty much by the end of the Easter season, end of March, early April, we are back on the road, getting ready, getting rehearsals and so on. So we are active pretty much for about 8 out of 12 months in the year,
Clarify to me, what are you rehearsing? Are you saying you're rehearsing throughout the entire year with parang, for parang rehearsals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we start very early. Okay. And my wife, she's the leader of the band, Gail. The leader of the band, and we were still all right, they had carnival and so on, let them relax a little bit.
Right.
But no, they are calling, when are we getting together?
Right.
So they're keeping us on our toes, and that's great. So pretty much it's for us, it starts as early as maybe late March, early April. And what's happening now is that, sometimes you get requests to come and perform at any kind of function.
Right. I was surprised when you were talking to me and you did it right up. You said that you do it at weddings and all of that. Is that something you think about? Yeah.
Yeah, all sorts of things, wedding reception, baptism, housewarming, a wake,
A wake. Okay.
A wake, especially more so in the rural and the countryside areas. Yeah, folks,
okay, that's interesting.
or if there's a family where the deceased is and so on, and this person loves Parang, they must be around. So we are pretty much prepared for that. We're ready to go when the call comes, And yeah, as we keep telling people, listen, we'll Parang any day, anytime, anywhere, for any reason.
Right.
Or for no reason at all.
What role do you think Parang plays in preserving, our cultural identity here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, yeah, it is very much, we think, at the forefront, after all the others, of course, the main focus would be on the steel pan movement, right? Where they get quite a lot of attention and so on, but Parang, together with the other forms of our cultural musical heritage, we think is very much there, right? It needs, well, as we will all agree, and together with the other forms, some more support. There's always a lot of talk about let us do all that we can to promote and to preserve and to protect these aspects of our cultural heritage. And through the Parang, we, band and even all the other bands that are involved are members of the National Parang Association. They're trying their best. There are lots of challenges still because folks still see it as pigeonholed, and it's not that. It's just for a season. And hey, if we want to use the Parang, we're having an event. So during the Christmas season, yeah, we should have some Parang entertainment. But you ask for support otherwise, and it's slow in forthcoming, But
you mentioned the National Parang Association. Why was there a need to form such an association, you think?
That the former generation, the generation before, and their bands and so on, and they got the idea, folks from Valencia, Rima, and otherwise, together to kind of structure it and to look after the interests of Parang and so on. And I guess that's how it started.
Do you write original songs? I'm sitting here as a person who we consume. You listen to Parang. I mean, sometimes in school, like experience started in school. For many of us, our experience started in school, and they say, "Okay, come in the choir, and we're going to learn this song because you have to perform at the Christmas concert." And I know it probably helps. It not probably does help if you know the language, but for many of us, sometimes you're enjoying the Parang, but you don't know what is being said in the thing, but you're singing along because you know whatever, right? What do you write your original songs for in your band? Do you have writers there who come up with original songs?
Yeah, well, my wife, she the leader of the band, and she has two original compositions. And then there is a third song which is also very popular. We got the melody from one of the elder statesmen of Parang. Right. The Sylvester Mata from down deep in the south. The melody. And then we look for verses and so on, right? Or their traditional verses, and we put together that song. Okay, and that's very popular. But she has two original compositions, which are of a high standard, Okay. But as you say, you're in school and you join the school choir. Come on, like we're learning this song for this thing and that. So you're just rattling off words and so on, melodies. You're dancing to the music, the rhythm, and so on. And that still pretty much happens. Well, pretty much all now in the Junior School Parang Festival, which is taking place this month. So schools are preparing now.
What festival is that?
That's the Schools Junior Parang Festival. It's taking place next month on Saturday the 15th and Sunday the 16th of November.
Where?
At the El Dorado East Secondary School.
Secondary school.
That's yes.
Okay. Because I'm interested in and it's really coming from my question about writing original songs, you know, in terms of judging it, like what criteria? I mean, the novice ear might not know. You see the maraca and the cuatro and all of those things, but what is the measure that they use to, you know, kind of judge parang or the competitions? Because to me, sometimes everybody songs good, you know, everybody's singing good and enjoying themselves.
Yeah, well, they have the different categories, okay? The lyrical content, which talks about where your storyline is, okay? And they are based, first of all, on the two events during the Christmas season, right? The Annunciation by the angel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary, that she was going to be the mother of the Son of God, and so on.
Okay.
And her response to him, and so on, right? That interchange between the both of them, right? The Annunciation. And then after that came the birth of the child, the Christ child, you know, events and so on leading up to that. So those are the two main categories that schools have to present. Yeah, you know, I was just reflecting here for a few moments. In the beginning, I said that, you know, the audience may be from other territories and so on.
Yes.
And I'm wondering about the use of the Spanish language in the Parang. You know, well, our history and so on will tell us that it went all the way back to the evangelization process, you know, by the Spanish monks and so on when they came in, you know, and they used the language to try to evangelize the indigenous population and so on. You know, and continued like that, and then passed on. Spanish became eventually a language used in many of the rural communities, right? You know, as we say, the Coco Payol communities, you know. And all the folks who first started really parang, our parang as we know it, Trinidad and Parang, they sang proper Spanish. Because that's they did. Yeah. That's what they learned, you know. But that would be the older heads, right? And then as it went on to generation they didn't teach the younger ones the language. So the younger ones, of course, are imitating songs, you know, and they would sing what they think they are hearing, what they think they know. And that gave rise to a lot of incorrect usage of language, pronunciation, and so on, right? But we're working on that, right? As recently as about 3 weeks or so ago, my wife and I presented a workshop for members of the Parang community. Yeah, right. Bands and persons who may be interested, you know, teachers and so on. A workshop on tracing the origins of Parang, the evolution, and, you know, using the use of language, style, pronunciation, all of that, the history of Parang. I mean, it's basically the history of the country from way back when, you know, from the earliest days.
I'm glad that you went into this naturally, because I was going to ask you, and I think it's coming out because you gave a good example. Why do you think that is important to preserve the language in this kind of way, especially in terms of in a particular genre of music? Why is it important to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a language, and you want to express it in the best way possible. Also, on the social aspect, we have a number of ambassadors and so on from the various Spanish-speaking countries around the embassies. They are attending shows now, and they are having a nice time, enjoying the Parang. I mean, the language may not be of the best, but the rhythm and the movement and the whole Parang environment, they really do have a nice time. Right. So at the last show, which was early last month, we had folks from Venezuela, Spain, Cuba, Peru, you know, Argentina, I think. And more getting sensitized to the Parang and coming home. So therefore, it means that bands, you know, really should want to make the effort to tighten up on the use of their language and so on, you know. And of course, we have so very many native Spanish speakers present in the country now, you know. We do enjoy it. But what really gets you, or or makes you really properly satisfied is the reaction of the audience out there to whatever you are presenting to them. You know, like for example, last Saturday night, there was a show down in the deep south in Buenos Aires, you know. Some folks ask us where that is. That is in Trinidad. Yes, Buenos Aires in Trinidad, the deep south. And we had a 30-minute time slot to perform 6 or 7 songs, and we were finished, and we're getting on the stage, and then we hear one more, you know. So out of the hat, we had to pull up another one, and that's where we brought in, we brought in one of the more popular local songs by Ula Tunji, right, which he made popular several years ago. Right? We call it Ola.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Also, you did that with a parang twist. It's a soca song, eh?
Yeah. You know, and I mean, that had everybody got up out of the seats after that. You know, and had a nice time.
Right.
You know, so that gives you the energy, you know. Although it came at the end of our performance, but you realize that, you know, folks, they did enjoy it. And the repertoire, like, you know, you choose something from Juan Luis Guerra, something out of Celia Cruz from Cuba, Juan Luis Guerra from the Dominican Republic.
Right.
What's her name? Gloria Estefan. You know,
is parang unique?
That seems to be promising.
To Trinidad, or I mean, we're singing in Spanish. Is it the same way that maybe Venezuelans will sing their songs around Christmas time? I may not know the correct terminology to describe it, because I'm wondering what is the because you kind of touched on it before when you said you do have Spanish speakers here, you know, ambassadors and all of that, and Latin nights, for example, was going on with in Nales and in the library there. And I'm thinking now of the perspective of authentic Spanish speakers in its own sense. Not that you are not, because you speak both languages, French and Spanish, but what's their perception when they listen to this parang, you know? And you touched on saying that you think it's important to have the language spoken well or sung well in its sense, because now you have authentic speakers of that language listening to it. Is the way or the style or parang itself found in other Spanish-speaking countries, that type of music?
Ours, well, because of our natural rhythms and so on, right, our melody, you know, with all the different influences, you know, I mean, the indigenous, the Afro influence, right, and so on, makes our parang unique, you know. Our experience in Venezuela, because our band went there early 2000.
Right.
We were invited to take part in a festival of aguinaldos, you know, a song festival, a sort of music festival in eastern Venezuela here, you know. And it was our first experience of live music there in Venezuela. And what we noticed is that on the stage, you will have maybe 6 or 8 members, and the industry 9, you know, 2 musicians at the end, but one at the end. And they started singing, right? They had a guitar and a cuatro and a bass instrument, like a box bass, something. It's not quite a box bass. They don't use a box bass. They use another instrument, a drum with a stick going down the middle, you know, that vibrates and creates the bass sound. And each other member in front there would be singing a verse, sort of like extempo.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. That was our first experience. And I guess, but you see, the other thing about Venezuela is that in the different parts, so here in the East, they will have their own style and their own type of music. As you go further down, like all the way down the west into Maracaibo and so on, as you get closer to Colombia, their style is called gaita, which is a different rhythm and a different beat, you know. So there are variations in their music, you know. But and that's how they play. Here, they come and I know that, for example, there's a foundation in Arima, right, where they're looking after the Venezuelan community of there and so on, and they have their parang band, you know, and the leader of the band several years ago, she was saying, you know, she's been living here for about more than 20 years. She said, you know, it's still different for us to try to come to terms with the Trini Parang, you know. But they're working hard to maintain their flavor of the Parang, you know. It may take us a while to embrace it, you know. When we stand up and we listen politely and so on, you know, the members of the audience and whatever listen politely. But, you know, they're not moving as much. They're listening, you know, it's a Venezuelan band. Yes, you pay them all the closest attention you can, you know, and to appreciate everything that they are part of it and they are integrating and, you know, they are being part of our Parang scene, you know. So it's that different. I don't think it will ever be close to ours the way we Parang with all our rhythm and you know, because
it might
I mean,
be an assimilation of the two, which is what happens in Trinidad. We tend to form hybrids of different things, people and food and all of that. So the music will eventually become a hybrid because that's the way the society is going. But you talked about you watching them perform. How were you received at that festival in Venezuela? How were you and your group received by the audience?
Yeah, we were well received because it was we were coming from, well, their first thing is we're coming from an English-speaking country. And we don't know Spanish. They don't know. The MC saying that on stage.
Oh my gosh. And he's saying it in Spanish and you understand it.
Yeah, I mean, we understand it every word.
Right.
You know? So when I got on the mic and I'm introducing the band in Spanish and so on, yeah, hush in the crowd, you know, hush. And then we performed our songs and so on, you know, on the thing. We were well received. But we knew that, I mean, up there in Cuba, music pouring out of their veins. You know, you're getting music here, there, and everywhere. You know? And that was really a lovely experience for the young persons in the band at the time. They still talk about it. You know, this group of them here, they haven't been able to travel anywhere. It's just up and down the country at the various communities and so on. You know, they are well received and well appreciated. People approach them, you know, complimenting them on their talents and so on. Right? And we are very happy for them. My wife and I are quite happy to have them in the band. Our students, you know, we don't know a whole lot of our students who will want to spend their early years in the company of two of their former teachers. You know.
What's next for you and your group? Where are we gonna see you this season? What's coming up?
There's a show later down in Maracas, St. Joseph, coming down in November. Right. These two shows, as I mentioned, are in the mid-weekend in November. Right, the 15th and 16th. Then there's a collaboration. There should be a show. I think they're trying to do a collaboration with the C3 Mall in San Fernando. But those things have to be finalized. You know, the Retired Prison Officers Association, they are having a Saturday night show as well. I think in early November. So those are the main shows on the calendar of the National Parang Association so far. But in the meantime, I mean, bands will be receiving lots of calls for
different events. Yeah, a lot of organizations and all of that will have their Christmas party and dinners and
The phone has been ringing nonstop for the past week and a half.
Very good.
Know?
And that's a blessing.
It's good, you know. So we're looking forward to a hectic season coming up.
Great. So thank you so much, Mr. Jason Ganpat, for joining me here on my channel, Lana the Educator. I want my listeners to know that you empower minds and you ignite curiosity. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. A great surprise, but you know, glad to be able to share our experiences